There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out. Slowly feel all that's around you. All that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Yes, indeed. You are welcome here. I'm just in such gratitude right now for that beautiful song. Every time I hear it, it opens my heart. It's the perfect way to start our conversation. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes with Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, and that song was by John Stringer, and I just want to give him a shout out. He's an amazing New Thought performer, and he sells music, so go online, look him up, John Stringer. He's just incredible. Thank you, John, for that beautiful song. And so, yes, I am Cindy Grimes and Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, which is in North Central Florida, and we are one of many centers for spiritual living located all over the world. And at our particular center, these are the things that are important to us. So just want to go through this list of values. Spiritual growth and practice is at the top of our list. We value love and appreciation, community, freedom, creativity, health and wholeness, generosity, and financial well-being. All of those things are like super important to us. So we keep them front and center. We bring them up every time we have a gathering so that people can know what it is that we stand for. And I think it's important for all of us to know what our values are, whether we are individuals or organizations. It's important to live, I think, a values led life. It just makes life so much easier, to make decisions and things when you know what's important to you. And this is our vision. We are a model center for spiritual living, as evidenced by the transformational impact we have, not only on our own spiritual community, but on the larger Centers for Spiritual Living organization and the world at large, whether it's Ocala, Marion County, any place. That is our vision, is that people's lives are changing as a result of the things that they're learning at this center or through this center. And our mission is to empower individuals to awaken to the power and presence that lies within and all around them. And that makes us a little bit different than maybe some other more traditional kind of denominations, in that they all talk about God. They all talk about God, but most traditional philosophies think of God as something outside of us. And we actually believe and teach and live by this idea that we are part of that one power and presence that runs in and around and through all things. And you can't not be part of it. You may not always recognize it or always feel like it, but there's no way to be outside of it. If God is all there is, then that is all there is. And I must be part of that, just like the wave is a part of the ocean. And so that's just a little bit about who we are. And we have actually a physical building, a physical location in Ocala, Florida. That's where we're broadcasting from right now, where I am anyway. And we had a gathering this morning. It was our second gathering. We do them, once a month, a more traditional type of gathering where I do a talk. And it was just phenomenal. It was so much fun to see some folks I hadn't seen in a bit, and to invite some new people into our building and our center. And it was really great. And I'm actually going to bring in our practitioners. Hello.
Hi, Rev.
Hello. I started talking. Yeah, I know, right? Like 5 minutes ago. Where were you?
At Mojo's. Oh my
so
God,
fun.
you guys, Mojo's is amazing in Ocala. You got to go. You got to go to
So,
that
you know
restaurant.
what? People need to come to Ocala and experience it. For those who are lucky enough to live here and get to come to the center and do that. But if you're not, when you come, let us know you're from out of town, and we'll show you our little town, some of those little
A slice of heaven.
a little slice of heaven. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. So thank you, ladies. Didn't we have fun this morning?
Oh my God,
It was
this morning
so
was
amazing.
amazing.
That's why I had to take that breath. I was like, let me just take a second and look around at everybody, all their faces beaming right at me. It just felt so good. I was like, yes, okay, I'm good now.
And it's when all the energies come together, and it's just, welcoming. It's the new people. They seem like they were already a part of the tribe, because they seem like they belong too.
Yes.
But we all do belong. It's just
We all
that
belong.
awareness. It's that awareness when we get to each other and say, oh, look, another version of me. How awesome.
Yes. And I love to feel like we're creating that welcoming presence, even online. Like, you don't have to be physically in the building to feel the grace of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala and what we're about.
And then if you're not here in Florida, guess what? Wherever you are, we might come that way sometime. And it'd be great to visit and see you.
Bring a little bit of that CSL Ocala energy to wherever you are. Yes.
Have it spread all over. Let it expand.
Yes. I love it. I love it. So thank you, ladies, for this is round 2 for us. But certainly
we're having so much fun.
It is. I'm having fun too. This is in a lot of ways the way I play. is just to share some of these practices and principles and things, with other people to, make their road a little bit easier, hopefully. That's what charges me up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's the same for you because that's why you became practitioners.
Exactly. Because we said, oh, this works for us. I had to dive into it very deeply and say, okay, show me, teach me.
Pick it apart.
Pick it apart. Pick yourself apart. And then when you're done, you can say, oh, this is the practice. This is what I'm practicing. Got it. And then you're helping others get there.
Yes. And it's so fun when you see people have that light bulb moment, right? And things start to change for them. So we're going to talk a little bit about some light bulb moments today. But before we get started on our official conversation while we're gathering, I think I will take myself out of this feed and let you do an opening prayer for us.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So we are getting very settled into our space that we take up, the human body that you take up. Just becoming aware of that center, the center of your breath. Allowing for that breath to come naturally, breathing in and out, ebbing and flowing. I recognize the allness that is divine energy. I love to change up the name so that all the parts of me can feel connected to it. Sometimes it's God, sometimes it's goddess, sometimes it's life force, sometimes spirit, sometimes universal energy, sometimes unconditional love, the great I am, whatever the word is that I use to describe it to others. The feeling is the peace that passes all understanding. And knowing that it is not only around me, but it is right where I sit. I am a part of the allness. I'm lending my own medicine to this. Just by speaking my words, I am projecting into that which is, and it is coming back to me. And we are ebbing and flowing together, breathing together, learning together, remembering together. I know that today's discussion touches that which may have been hurt in the past. It touches that which may be confused and alone and vulnerable and afraid. And it gives hope to the hopeless. And the unconditional love of the divine as it unfolds touches each and every person that is able to hear this message. Whether they're on right now or on later, they are able to hear this message and know and feel connected to the allness and reacquainting ourselves with who we really are. We are a part of the oneness that is God. And even though I'm one small part of it, I know that that one small part is mighty because it, like one drop of ocean out there, has every single thing the ocean is, including whales and dolphins and fish and salt. All of it exists in one drop of ocean. It is the cellular structure of that ocean. It cannot be in anything else. So too, I am the structure of the allness. I cannot be anything else. And as I breathe in everything that is there, already existing in divine mind, anything that's on my heart already exists in divine mind. And I'm becoming aware of it every single day, more and more as it's manifested into my physical form and into my physical experience. I am so grateful for this teaching. I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for myself. And I'm grateful for you. I release it now knowing that it's already working for the highest and best in the law. And so it is. Amen. Ashe.
So it is.
Amen, Ashe, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Ah, thank you. Just so nice to get that opportunity to drop in and just, tune in, plug in,
Yeah.
and relax. And know that it is all
It's
unfolding in
all
perfect
God. It's
divine
all
order.
good.
It's all good. Thank you for that. So we're talking about courage today, right? The
Dun, dun, dun.
yes, cultivating courage. And I actually did it a little bit out of order from my curriculum. We're talking self renewal, social, emotional, life focused renewal, which is a curriculum that I put together. And I actually went out of order. It wasn't on purpose, but I'm sure it's all in its perfection, right? Divine perfection, because we talked about vision last week and last month. We have this great big vision, a world that works for everyone, and we're a model center for spiritual living and all of that. And I think, I have a vision for my life. You probably have vision for your life, right? And that's not the end of it, right? It's not like you create the vision board or you establish the destination. That's not the end of it. You have to actually get in motion, right? And sometimes that's the scariest part, right? The what is it? The voyage of 1,000 miles begins with the first step,
A single step.
a single step. Yeah. So sometimes that's the scariest thing, is to just like
Take
take
that
that step.
first step.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll start with maybe, what have you learned about courage? Through this teaching, um, and maybe I'll start because I'm already talking. um, I think the big distinction about courage for me is that it doesn't mean that you're not afraid. Courage means that you acknowledge the fear that's there. You feel it, like your heart's beating and all,
Mhm.
and you still do the thing anyway, right? Like you move and you do in spite of the fear. It doesn't mean that you have to be fearless. And it's something that you can cultivate. It's not like some of us are born courageous and some of us are not. It's something that we can grow and practice and actually get better at. It gets easier, as you face those trials and challenges and things. So that's what I will start with.
Well,
Mhm.
and I'd like to add to that that courage isn't anything that anybody can do for you. They can't give it to you. They can't instill it in you. It has to come from within. You have to work at building this courage yourself. It's an inside job.
Yeah.
You got to do it for yourself.
And then what do? You fake it till you make it. Because I had to fake it. I was not courageous. I was a scared bunny in the corner, just thought that I was just going to be attacked at any moment because I had that happen to me. My physical form was attacked multiple times. So I'm thinking, how do I step into that courage? When you talked to me about that, Cindy, and I thought, at what point did I say enough and decide to be courageous? It was a small step at first, tiny little step. And it was the simplest step, honestly, was just the decision that I was no longer a victim. Just
Mm,
that decision. Because the victimhood was all of who I was. I was the girl who had that thing happen.
right.
And that's all you're known for. And then everybody's, oh my God, you have such a powerful story. You have a powerful testimony. And I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. But I'm the girl who, and so I no longer carry that as the badge of honor. I made
Mm,
that decision that said, this isn't me.
It's no longer who
I
you are.
deserve better. And once I made that decision and I said, come hell or high water, I do not care. I deserve better. I'm a good person. And I remember having to tell myself this. I had to fake it because, and myself used to come back and say, are you though? Do you deserve better? Yes, I do. I had to argue with myself on the inside,
mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? And that was the biggest thing, is that one little step. And I feel that that step is the most courageous step.
Yeah. That first step, man.
First step.
First step. Hmm.
Right. Before that, there's confusion, there's all that fear and whatnot. And it's what the image that's coming to me is from the Oh gosh, one of the movies like Romancing the Stone, or one of those the adventure flick
Yeah.
where Harrison Ford is standing at the edge of this chasm, and he knows he's got to move. I guess his father's in trouble, and he's trying to save his dad or something, and he's terrified, and he takes that step, and then this kind of this platform appears for him to get from where he is to cross to the other side, because he had the courage to take that first step.
Yeah.
You know,
Isn't that something?
it's such a beautiful, like, metaphysical truth, that
And you
take
never
that first
see
step.
where the step is going.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest piece of the courage. Like, I'm going to make a step.
Hmm.
What step? There is no step. What am I looking at? I'm just going to step. There's no step. I don't see a step. Everybody's saying there's no step. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But then there's something in you that just says, I'm trusting that the universe is conspiring for my good.
Hmm.
And I am trusting that the next thing is going to show itself and that I will recognize it. I added that because I was like, it's going to show itself, but what if I'm not paying attention? Then what? But I will recognize it. And then I start looking for it. And that was the step. And it shows up every time.
Yeah. Right. So sometimes just that first step, and then trusting that the next step is going to be revealed. Like you said, you can't see the whole journey. You just get moving, get in motion, do the next thing, and then the next thing will show up, and the next thing, and the next thing.
And before you know it, the faking it till you made it. And half the time, like, people are like, you're so confident, you're so awesome. I faked it until I got here. And now I can honestly say, okay, I feel what that feels like now. But when I first started, I didn't believe it. And even this morning, Norma had to talk me off of the ledge because my anxiety is very present. I get my hormonal dump, is what I call it. My body goes through that thing, and my anxiety and the flood of adrenaline happens. And then I'm starting to freak out and wig out and all of that. And it happens. It's not like the anxiety went away and that my mental illness is gone. It's there. I just recognize it now and I know what to do.
And that just goes to show that no matter where you are in your path, everything that we talk about are practices, meaning they have to be used over and over and over again.
There's no
so it's not like you get to this courageous mark and I can do anything. You're still gonna have those moments
because life is gonna give you stuff to practice.
Yes.
Isn't that the truth?
And you can pretend all you want, but bury your head in the sand all you want, but the sand is, eroding around you. It's gonna show up.
Yeah. So why don't you share some of a courageous moment from your past?
My most courageous moment, I believe, was when I pushed against my whole family, everything, when I decided to be with Norma. To come out and say you're gay, especially where Jamaica was and what was instilled inside of me, especially with a very deep Christian background, I thought that I would lose a lot of, if not all of my family. And they were saying pretty much that you're going to lose us. This is not going to be something we can stand behind. Now that's been 15 years ago. And my family, it's not that they've changed their mind on how they stand on gay relationships, but they're starting to realize that that's my path. And because they love me, they're allowing for me to walk my own path instead of them trying to get me to walk their path that they want me to walk for, And that was, I had to push against something that I'm not one to rock the boat, and I don't like confrontations. And to have somebody, like my mom was in tears, begging me to change my mind. My aunt was like, you're making me sick. And all of this stuff is happening, and my children are crying. You're breaking up our family. But I knew that when I got with Norma, something said, you're peaceful. And I paid attention to that voice inside of me that said, this is where the next step is here. And I couldn't even explain it to people. When they asked me why, I said, I don't know. It's just quiet when I'm with her. The chatter stopped. And I don't know what it was, but I said, she's my balancer. I felt most balanced when I was in her presence without us even talking or doing anything. And I thought, once I discovered peace, especially somebody who experiences anxiety on the regular and was medicated and hospitalized for it, once I discovered peace, nothing was taking it away from me. And that was my most courageous thing I did in 15 years. And yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful, Donna.
Coming out
Thank
like
you.
that. Yeah.
And see,
that's
I
my
thought she was
golden.
going to say it took courage to be with me.
It's just fun to be with you. Everybody who's ever been around Norma knows that she's fun. Yeah, she's fun.
She is definitely a lot of fun.
For me, my most courageous moment that I can think of that comes right out at me when I think about it is my choice to that first step it took for me to go into practitioner courses. Because, I'd taken all the prerequisites because I was taking things to become a better me. And, that was my goal. That's where I want to be. And my wife decides that she wants to go into practitioner courses and become a practitioner. And I'm like, have fun with that.
Hey, Norma, would you let people know what a practitioner is? Actually, if they're watching and they never heard that term or what it means for us in CSL.
Well, actually, I heard Donna describe it earlier very beautifully in her video for CSL. Why don't you explain what a practitioner is?
So for me, what a practitioner is someone who practices this teaching on a regular basis and then can then show up and hold space for someone else who's in the fog and trying to figure out themselves. So as a practitioner, when you get in a session with a practitioner, they hold the consciousness of the truth of who you are while you tell them the story, or while you say, this is what I'm experiencing right now. We're still holding the consciousness, the truth of who you are. And it takes practice because we have to get our own stuff out of the way. You can't have your own judgment and bias blended into when somebody comes to you when they're at their most vulnerable. You have to be able to hold a space. And the reason we hold the space is because if I'm vibrating at a higher consciousness level, there's actually a phenomenon where you put a big clock and a little clocks all in the same room and they all start to tick according to how the big clock is ticking, because it's the highest vibrational. So if I can hold my consciousness up here, then I am allowing for the other person to lift their consciousness as well, which takes them out of the story and into the truth, which is God's everywhere present. I am safe. Yeah. And then
beautiful?
everything in the story starts to melt away, because then you start to realize, oh yeah, this is just my experience, my human experience. Duh. I'm actually spirit expressing.
Yeah.
And
I'm not the story.
I'm not the
Right,
story.
not the
I'm
story.
holding that consciousness. So when I do spiritual mind treatment and I start to speak the truth through the spiritual mind treatment, once you get that concept, just the very first part of that mind treatment, God's everywhere. Oh yeah, I'm part of it. That means then everything that's God is also me. Oh yeah. And it starts to just take the hold that it has on you starts to melt away.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. Thank you, Norma.
Right?
Lovely, lovely.
And with that description that she just did, the part that really would always grab me was, the judgment. And I, before taking practitioner classes, was full of that. I judged everything and everybody for everything. And then I realized my judgment was coming from my own stuff. It had nothing to do with the people around or what they were doing. It was my own stuff. So my courage came because the hardest thing I think for people to do is to look at themselves and peel apart all the layers of stuff that's compiled over the years. And although I didn't know that's what practitioner classes did, I just knew that I was not, in my state at the time, the one to listen to someone continually come to me with the same stuff, because my motto at the time was, quit banging your head against the wall and complaining that it hurts. That's what I got. I'll listen to it one time, but don't keep coming back to me with the same stuff. Well, that too was my own stuff that had to be peeled away. And that's what practitioner classes did for me, was open up a lot of my stuff that I didn't even know I had.
I love that. when you're in a session with somebody, I love the high watch, holding the high watch, like for when you're having an event and a practitioner is just there holding the consciousness for the event to unfold beautifully and for the right things to come forward. And I love that because essentially that's what I do when I'm sitting in that state. It doesn't feel like it's depleting me in any way. It feels like I'm just presence, like I'm being divine presence. And the same thing happens when I'm at the bedside with a patient, for example, that's making their transition to the other side. I mean, everybody wants to, there's a fixing or there's a doing or whatever. There's nothing of that. It all goes away because it's just the presence of calm and peace and love. Just be an unconditional love in that moment, and all your own stuff just disappears. And whatever it is you're going through in that moment, the minute the person sits down and you get very clear and centered, your own stuff, oh, epiphanies happen, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was blessed by this session too. I do that with Reiki too. Reiki does
But you know
that.
what? My initial thought of what my courage was to get into the practitioner classes ended up not being a thing for me. Where the courage came in was the actual courage to be vulnerable, to
Mm,
open up your stuff and look at it. That takes courage.
Yeah.
yeah.
And as much as I say this teaching is potentially for everybody, it's not for everybody because everybody's not ready to do that.
Mm-mm. No. Some people it's too painful,
Hmm.
and other people they are just not ready to dive into that. It'll throw a whirlwind into their whole life.
Yeah.
And
And that's okay because we're all on our own spiritual path.
mhm.
Not everybody is ready to do that kind of work.
But when you're ready, there's something that then lines it up, and you're like, "Whoa, I couldn't believe it!" And then you start to see synchronicities happening, and
Mhm.
that's how you just know when you know when you know. And there's everybody is different.
And
Right.
when you use the term being ready, we're talking about our human time line. You know, you're ready when you're ready. Ready, if you say, I'm not ready, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen for you.
Mhm,
Hmm.
It just means that this isn't the time for you with that particular thing.
mhm. But it's not to say don't try to take at least one step,
Hmm.
even if you're not ready to dive into anything big time, but you know that there's a change or something is being called to you. Just take
Hmm.
a small step, which is what happens when you start taking classes. One
Mhm.
class. Yeah,
Hmm.
let me just do foundations.
Those are called readiness preparation classes.
Yeah.
It's funny, you say that, and I just think back to I actually found the center initially when I was about 24 years old, 23, 24, and I was looking for a place to get married, and it was a wedding garden. And I came and I sat in a service at that time. I don't remember how many people were in the service, but they were most of them probably 40, 50 years older than me, which seemed very old at the time, which no longer seems so old. And it just was like, it just went over my head. I didn't come back until I was almost 40. And I didn't even realize it was the same place because we were meeting in a different building. And at that time, I was ready. I was ready.
Yeah. You
So,
have more and more young people who are stepping into spirituality more, much younger, because they're like, I need something that makes sense, that is practical. And because we learn different ways, I like the practicality where you can actually put your hands in it and test it.
yeah.
Um, I did not find any other modality that worked like that for me every single time. And
Mhm,
I had to test it. And
mhm,
each time that I tested, I'm like, whoa, it's just validation, confirmation. And there's lots of people who have different modalities and
mhm.
that works for them. And so, we're each different and we each take different paths, but we get, as long as you get you get to that piece.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to also just acknowledge the two of you because I'm in a straight relationship, right? Married for 33 years. And I think it wasn't until I started really getting into social justice work to realize that those kinds of things are, privilege, right? To be straight, you don't think of it as a privilege, it's just who I am. But in a culture that values that sees that as the norm, anyone who is not that is seen as, less than, and so just how difficult that road must be, and probably why we have so many people in our movement that are gay and lesbian and, trans and whatever, because this is the place they can be that, you know. So I just applaud you for living your truth, and
Mhm.
I can't even fathom what that would be, to come out and share that with family, especially people who are not welcoming of it.
Yeah.
So
It's
kudos to you.
interesting. It's interesting because I thought it would be harder. When I first came out, there was all this fear around it, and I thought it would be harder. And it was difficult with my family, but the world as a whole was fine. We
Mhm.
didn't, and I attribute it to the fact that we're both Black women, so, and we look like we could be family. So when we go out and about, people used to say she's my mom, and so we never used get any flack from anyone at
Mhm.
all. And I think that that is the biggest thing that helped us the most. We didn't get that, but it's also the way you approach people with it. I don't blaringly do anything,
Right.
and I'm very gentle about it.
Well,
So
and then go ahead, Norma. Go
I
ahead.
think you see what you look for. I don't.
Mhm.
It's like someone said one time. I didn't feel like I needed to, come out as gay to my family because my brother didn't have to come out as straight. So why is it a thing? You know,
Right. Why is it a thing? Who
yeah,
can't? It's your business, right?
right.
Hmm.
So how you act around people is how you. This is the response you get.
Hmm.
So if you act like your life is normal, just as theirs is,
Hmm.
there's no
Yeah.
reaction to react to.
A
You
lot
know?
of times it doesn't even occur to me to even
It's
say, oh, by
not
the
a
way, I'm
thing.
gay. Yeah, it doesn't occur to me at all. But I do refer, people get it when I say, well, I was talking to my wife the other day. And then, or they'll say, oh, your husband must think blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, well, actually, my wife says blah, 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 blah. And it's
Mhm.
just a regular conversation. And I started to normalize that in my own speech. And wouldn't you
Yeah.
know it, it's getting better and better out there. And the world has been
Oh,
changing.
so much more. Hmm.
And the efforts of many has really made a difference, I believe. And it's
I
not
actually remember. I was gonna say when you first came to the center and said something about Norma, your wife, and I can remember thinking, did she say her wife? Did I hear that right? It's so funny to remember that now because it's just so normal. But at that time, it was like, wow, she said that? Oh gosh, that's interesting.
but it's changed. And it's not even just because I know that we've had lots of people march and advocate and all of that, but
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's a
Lead
lot
the
of
way.
courage, pride parades and coming out and doing all this stuff. It's a lot of courage. But I also believe that what really made the difference was the courage of our brothers and sisters, our neighbors and our friends to stand with us and to
Hmm.
be with us and to say that, okay, you're okay. And the people that you see in the grocery store, and it takes courage to look at a different family and say, okay, it's not for me, but okay,
Hmm.
and go on their day as usual. And it's changing the world because they're realizing, oh my gosh, all these people are in pain. I don't want to contribute to that pain, therefore I won't be
Hmm.
a jerk.
Yeah.
And that's really all it comes down to. And that's
Hmm.
why I think that more and more of our young people, especially our young kids, are coming out and saying, I am trans, I am bi, I am, all kinds of, they're coming up with all kinds of stuff to say, oh, I think I might be this, or I think I might be that. And why not explore
Yeah.
and figure out where you might want to be, if you even want a label of any kind.
And the most
Sure.
time you have the courage to be your authentic self and who you truly are. I mean, think about 20 years ago when the biracial couples, you
Mm,
had to have courage to date someone of any opposite race than yourself.
yeah.
And now nobody even blinks an eye at it.
Right.
It has become the norm. So it takes that first step.
Well, at least in our world, it's the norm.
Yeah. So the flip side of this conversation is, you have it takes courage to be yourself, right? To tell your truth.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you don't do that? Right. So, I mean, it is scary and it's hard, to have that courage. But I think not having the courage or not doing the thing that your heart is calling to you is worse
Yep.
in the long run.
health benefits and everything else just eats
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To just
To not live the truth.
to step forward and say, hey, this is who I am. And
Hmm.
it's okay. Because when you do that, you're not saying, I want everybody else to be like me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is me. And I want to be seen and heard as me,
To
Hmm.
live
to
authentically.
live me.
Right.
And you don't have to be like me, but
Accept me.
just accept that this is me.
Yeah. Well, and there's that quote too about, giving people the courage. You being your authentic selves gives other people the courage to be their authentic self. And it has nothing to do with gay or whatever, just like to just be me. you know,
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing. So I
Can
thank
I
you. Because,
correct that you said?
what did I say?
I don't think it gives them the courage. It maybe help instill within them their own sense of courage.
Yes, that's true. It's not giving them their courage. It's helping them find their own.
Mhm. That's
That's
true.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a good, important distinction.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of what so many scary things I've done. um, I think it's probably now coming out of COVID, and we're launching the center in its new format, not relaunching because we're not going back to anything, but going to something new. And the acknowledgement and the realization that there is not a map for this. There's not a path for what we're doing. There's not like there's a right way, there's a wrong way. We don't know what spiritual community looks like going forward, coming out of COVID.
Mhm.
And in a lot of ways, a good thing, because there were some things that didn't work about the old way that we get to now imagine and reconfigure. What is the community we want to be? What impact we want to have? What role we want to play? But the fact that there isn't that proven way to do it, it's a little scary. It's a little scary. You don't know if people are going to come in the door. Like, it's like throwing a party. Is anybody going to show up? So
Well,
that's the thing.
today's service, last night I said to Norma after we did our little practice, I said, babe, what do you think? She's like, well, you kind of lose yourself into the drum. And I thought, oh no, I have to pull that back. And she was like, don't do that. Don't pull it back. Just let it go and see what happens. And then today when we did it and I started playing the djembe and I said, okay, we're going to give ourselves permission to just go nuts for the second. And I saw what happened. Everybody started moving in the energy. I started to drum like, and everybody, I could feel their energy vibrating. And some of them started clapping and bouncing in their seats. And I thought, I got it. Yeah,
Yes.
I shouldn't
Yes.
ever hold back.
Right.
that was
And like you said, it's not that the step is scary, right? But then you're in it and you're like, wow, what was I so worried about?
Right?
This is fun,
You know what my mama said to me? Mommy, she's so beautiful, this woman. And I thought, and she's so Christian and very old fashioned. And I thought, how am I going to explain to my mother the concept of lesbian? I mean, I didn't know how to explain to her lesbian. And so she came to me, she goes, it's okay. It doesn't matter if you're lesbian. It's all right. And I said, Mommy, do you know what a lesbian is? She's like, no. Because somebody outed me to her. And now I had to explain to my mom. And I thought, oh, this sucks. Well, you know what she said? She goes, you must know what make you happy.
Mm.
And I said, that's it. She goes, you must know what make you happy. And if you're happy, I'm happy.
Mm.
And I thought, golly, here I was thinking she's going to have a heart attack. It's going to kill her. I'm going to have to wait until she's gone from the planet before I have this discussion with her. And she lived with me. I didn't have a choice. I had to tell her who this person was. And you must know what makes you happy was her response. All that fear, and that's it.
Right.
Uh,
It's so simple, really, when you get down to it, right? Like,
and some people, it's very founded. You know, there were people
Yeah.
who are just not evolved like that, and they're really angry at the world and at everything. And so coming at them with news like that would be very difficult. And there have been kids who have been thrown out on the street with nowhere to go, no food, no nothing, because they came out. And it's sad. But thank goodness there are other people out there, tribal people out there, just saying,
There to
come.
help.
and let me help you. People in
Mhm.
shelters and groups and
Yeah.
all of that. And you just reach out now because of social media and other stuff, and to not be alone
But conversely,
anymore.
though, it's equally as sad when you have people that are in their 40s and 50s living or having desires and wanting to do things differently, but because their parents are still alive or what have you, they won't, be their authentic selves because they don't have the courage to possibly, do what Donna did and face the parents or just have the conversation with the parents that,
Mhm.
couldn't necessarily go exactly how they would like for it to go, but just
Mhm.
having that courage to take that first step to see is just so
Mhm.
frightening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's scary.
And it's not just about being gay or lesbian. It is so many
Any
things,
issue.
right?
Yeah.
I think probably one of the biggest fears is our fear of not belonging, right? Of not being part of the tribe, of people, not accepting you. And I got to see if I can find this quote from Brene Brown that I think is just speaks to this so beautifully. I think I've got
While
it.
you're looking for that, they'll tell you our daughter, she mustered up the courage to come out to us about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She came out as a mermaid.
Ah, that's
She said, I
exciting.
know you want me to go back to college, but I'm coming out as a mermaid. She was shaking. I
She
was
was
like,
really
Oh.
afraid to come
I
out and
was
tell
like,
us that.
okay, what exactly is that? How does one make money doing that as a profession? I don't know. I didn't know anything, but I thought, well, okay, it'll be fun. You're still gonna do something else, right? On the side. Yeah, as a parent, this you're thinking, oh God, what's gonna happen to my kid? And then I thought, don't do that. And we went to her event yesterday.
Hmm.
Oh my God. You went by, Cindy.
I
Oh
was
my
there. It was so
God.
fun.
The
It was really.
world would have been not as bright without that
Mhm.
beautiful energy doing her thing. And the babies, the kids are just to believe in magic, that little spark of imagination coming to life right in front of their eyes is just
Mhm.
incredible. And that's why people cosplay. And there was a huge cosplay thing here in Ocala. And I thought, yay, we're stepping up. Look at that.
Hmm.
Look at that.
Did you find Brene?
Yes, I did. I found Renee. Let me put it up
I don't know
here.
what I did to this thing, but
I don't remember which book this comes from, but she talks about belonging here, and men and women who have the deepest sense of true belonging are people who also have the courage to stand alone.
Hmm.
So it's that paradox, right? You know who you are and be willing to say, I'm going to do what I need to do, for my life. They're also willing to maintain their integrity and risk disconnection in order to stand up for what they believe in. Once we belong thoroughly to ourselves and believe thoroughly in ourselves, true belonging then is ours.
mm,
Hmm.
Because then when you belong to yourself, when you know who you are, when you love yourself, you can be anywhere. You can belong anywhere. It doesn't matter whether the people out there get me or don't. Now,
yeah.
of course, it helps to have my tribe too, right? To know that I have my friends and my people when I need that, right? My family, my
Yeah.
loved ones, my spiritual community, and people that accept and love me anyway.
But you
But
have to be
I have
willing
to
to
be willing
step
to do
out
the
and
other.
find people who were
Mhm.
lined up with the same values. You can't just be in your house going, well, this is me all by myself. There are
Mhm.
ways that, but it takes courage to open your mouth and say, this is what I'm about. Because you never know who's going to be like, oh my God, that's me too. And
Right.
now you have tribe.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing, to be able to say, oh, this is who I am. This is what I'm about.
Mhm.
And risk ridicule.
Yeah. Yeah. But stand in your truth. Stand in your truth.
Mhm.
Well, I think that is an awesome message for anybody who is listening today to get that. If you could get that takeaway, to step into your authentic self, have the courage to do that. And your tribe is going to show up and your next thing is going to show up because everything that you want, really and truly, I've heard this said, but I've now proven it for myself. Everything I want is on the other side of my fear,
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, it
right?
is. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All those true like desires of your heart, those
Mm.
things, it's on the other side of taking that step. It's like we're like the universe wires us that way. You have to give this much and then we'll give you all of this, right?
Yeah.
But you have to. You got to set the wheel in motion. You have to take that step, and then it will be given to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think that's my
Yeah.
big summation for today. I don't know. You got anything? What would you
Well,
like to close
just
with?
like you said, you have to be willing to, but even the Bible, it doesn't say it's given unto you and then you ask. It says
Mhm,
ask and you'll be given to you. Like,
mhm,
oh, okay, I have to actually make a decision. And that was the thing for me. I had to be like, I'm worth it. Just because I exist. No other reason. I've made mistakes in the past, but because I exist, I'm worth it. And if I can't get to where my adult self is worth it, then I stop and I think about the kid who came in pure and untouched by anything else, and she is worth it.
mm,
If nobody is going to protect her, that little girl that was afraid, that little girl that got traumatized, if nobody is there to protect her, I
mhm,
will stand and I will talk to her and I will say, I am standing in front of you now. You're okay.
mm.
And I am the biggest bad there is
Mhm.
because I've been there, done that, got the t shirt.
Yep. Came out on the other side.
I'm out on the
Mhm.
other side. And
Hmm.
now I can step forward and say, I'm standing for you and with you.
And
Mm,
for me, it seems like everything comes back to the very same thing for me. Is it's an inside job. You can't get the courage to do something until you know what it is that you want.
mhm,
You can't move forward until you figure out where you are.
mhm.
So, it all begins with me and figuring out who that is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then say,
Wow.
are you happy? And if the answer is no, okay, can you take a step in the direction of happy? What would it look like? Sometimes you just need the mental equivalent. I love having people come around me and Norma because I believe that we are mental equivalent for a healthy relationship.
Mhm,
And when they come around us, they're like, you guys are so sappy and so. I was like, yes,
mhm,
exactly, because she's my person. She's my
mhm,
best friend and my person. And
Mhm.
that's the mental equivalent when you can see that it actually exists. And if it exists for us, I know it can exist for you.
And so for people who might not know that phrase, mental equivalent,
Hmm.
it's like the mold, like the model,
Hmm.
of what it could be.
Hmm.
And you're absolutely right. People see your relationship and say, I want what they got. Whatever it is they're
I'm going to
having,
search
whatever
until
it
I
is
find
they
that
get.
thing. And we
I
are
want
always willing to share with others. This is how it feels because that's what it is. And it's different for each person. So people will always say, well, I can't wait to find my Norma, is what they'll say. And I'll say, no, you don't. You don't want a Norma. You want your balancer,
that.
the
Mhm.
person
Yeah.
who balances you so well that you feel your best every time when you're around them, and vice versa. I balance her so that she feels her best
Because
when
if I
she's
was
around
looking
me.
for a Norma, I'd be alone. Because I could not do me.
Oh my goodness. I love you ladies so much. Thank you
Love
for
you
this
too.
conversation. We didn't know what it was going to be going into, but I think it was rich, and I hope people
Oh,
were inspired as well to find their true selves and step into that, and maybe their person to believe that exists, and that there is healthy relationships, and there is love, and there is trust, and there is honor, and there are good people in this world.
mhm.
And just have the courage to do whatever it is they're next to be. Maybe they have their perfect relationship, but
Hmm.
their courage needs to be in their work life or, finding
Yeah.
friends. Whatever their
Hmm.
next what's to
Mhm.
be is, have the
Yeah.
courage to do and be that.
And if you're with somebody and you're like, oh man, we need some, get into therapy. They're
Hmm.
professionals for that to help you pick it apart because you don't know. And sometimes you'll say, well, nobody around me, there is no tribe, there is no friends, there's nothing, I'm all by myself. Then you be the one. You be the
Yeah,
light. You bring the light so that others can find it out of the darkness.
Because light attracts light.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, ladies, so much. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. If anybody remembers
Same
that.
great time, same great time. We'll be on tomorrow though, because we're doing caring for
Oh,
caregivers
that's right.
tomorrow.
Oh, do a little commercial for yourselves. Go ahead. Let people know
So
what you're up to.
8 p.m. Eastern time, we do something
Mhm.
called Caring for the Caregivers. And what that is we talk about different modalities that help people who are giving of themselves in a service way. So I'm a nurse and she's a massage therapist. Well, how do you nurse the nurse and take care of me and give me tools that I can use while I'm on the floor at the hospital? Because it's a very stressful job. And so we share the tips and stuff that we use when we're out there doing our thing to help replenish our cup so that we can come again and give our gift. And sometimes you do it for a living and sometimes you do it begrudgingly, but it's a way for you to get replenished. All these little tips.
And the points we like to point out is not just people that get paid to do things, mothers are caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Right.
of people in their daily activities are caregivers.
Correct.
Mhm.
And we give little tips and tricks on things to do for yourself to just keep sane.
Yeah.
I can come forward. And some of the people that you're caring for, you don't have a choice. They're vulnerable. Babies, they're vulnerable. Older people with dementia can, it's scary and can be quite volatile. So it's good to be able to step back and care for yourself a little bit more.
For sure. And that's at 8 o'clock on New Thought Media Network.
Yes.
What time?
On New Thought Media Network, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And we also broadcast from Your Phoenix is Rising, which is our wellness company.
Terrific. All right. Thank you again, ladies. Love you. Have a fabulous evening, fabulous weekend. We'll see
Yes.
you. We'll see you next week.
All righty.
All right. Wrong way. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, take us to the next portion of our little online gathering here, and that is in the sharing of our gifts. And so, there's something called the law of circulation. And just as I was saying, we have to take that first step in courage to get to, what that thing is of our heart's desire. It works the same way with our giving. And so, as we give, we receive. We give, we receive. It keeps that ball in motion. And so we just invite you to give if you feel moved to do that. If you are touched by the messages that we offer here at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, we just invite you to share. And we have a couple of ways that you can give. You can go to cslocala.org/donate. Or if you have a smartphone, you can send a text message to the number that is going across your screen. It is 352-320-5110. And once you have that number programmed in your phone, all you do is text the amount that you want to give, and it'll go right from your account to our bank account. And it's a beautiful thing. So here is our affirmation around giving and generosity. And it goes this way: it is the nature of life to give of itself, as it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom. It is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. And I just invite you to make that an affirmation. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for each one of you that support the center, whether it's with your physical presence, whether it's your money or your little elbow grease. Come out here. They've got people that cutting lawn and pulling weeds and things like that, or helping us set up. We just appreciate all of you so much. And it takes a village. This is a spiritual community, and I am a part of that community. And as a part of that community, I am grateful to each one of you. Let's see if we've got any announcements. If you're in the Ocala area, next week we will be having our circle discussions. We're taking the topic of the month, which is the year is living everyday wonder, and then every month is a different topic. So this month we're talking about everyday wonder in our inner world, and in our in-person gathering we will be doing small group discussion with people just sharing their answers, kind of like what we do here on this platform, only we get to participate in person. So we invite you to do that. And what else? We've got Amy Steinberg coming to CSL Ocala at the end of the month, the last Sunday. I think it's let's check dates here, the 27th 27th of February at 7 p.m. Your tickets are available through Eventbrite. You can go to our website and maybe even in the chat here to find the link to that. Amy, if you have not heard Amy Steinberg, she's an incredible musician, heart, soul. I mean, she's the whole package. So come for that. There's also CPR class happening at the center for those of you who can be here in person on the 27th, and I believe that's at 11. So that's what we've got coming up. We will be here online again next week, continuing our discussion on this idea of self-renewal. And so with that, I guess we'll close this out with a prayer. And let me find it here. Now you all have seen it. There we go. It's our prayer for protection. And this comes from James Dillett Freeman and the Unity tradition. But it's a beautiful, simple little prayer that just kind of says it all. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I just affirm that all is well in your world. No matter what challenges you may have before you, I'm just knowing that you have every resource that you need to not just get past the challenge, but to let that be a stepping stone to your greater success and to reaching those things that it is that your vision and your desire. So have a fabulous week, everybody. We will see you next week. And thank you for tuning in this afternoon. Love and blessings.